Tonight, the world takes a dangerous new turn. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz dropped a geopolitical bombshell. Ukraine is now cleared to strike inside Russia with Western weapons. No more range restriction, he declares, as the Western throws off the globe. Moscow call it a march toward World War III. Kyiv calls it justice. The battlefield just expanded, and so did the stake. Stay with us. I am Ibrahim Umarwasi. This is Connecting the Dot. Welcome back. In a fairy statement that is likely to inflame already frigid relations between Russia and the West, President Vladimir Putin has declared that Russia must reciprocate what he described as efforts by Western powers to strangle his country.
We need to get them in a chokehold. They're trying to strangle us, and we should reciprocate. We did not chase anyone out. We provided the best possible conditions to work in our market, and they're trying to choke us. And we should act in a mirror fashion.
They are trying to strangle us, and we should reciprocate, he said. Putin said in a remark delivered during a high-stake Defense Council meeting in Moscow. It is time we put the West in a chokehold of our own, economically, diplomatically, and strategically. The Russian leader did not mince words, accusing NATO members and Western-aligned nations of waging a hybrid war against Russia through sanctions, support for Ukraine, and what he called information terrorism. Putin's rhetoric comes amidst rising tensions on several fronts: the ongoing war in Ukraine, new rounds of Western sanctions hitting Russia's defense and tech industries, and a renewed NATO military buildup in Eastern Europe. Meanwhile, President Trump has criticized Russian President Putin, stating he has gone absolutely crazy. He is needlessly killing a lot of people, and I'm not just talking about soldiers. Missiles and drones are being shot into cities in Ukraine for no reason whatsoever.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kyiv and other cities. I don't like it at all.
Western governments have yet to officially respond to the statement, but early reactions suggest growing concern over the Kremlin's increasingly bellicose posture. Languages like this is not just inflammatory, it is dangerous, a senior European diplomat told The Guardians. It underscores that we are dealing with a Russia that no longer sees dialogue as a meaningful part. Analysts believe Putin's latest remarks signals a pivot towards an even more assertive foreign policies, potentially involving further military or cyber offensive, especially in regions like the Baltic, the Arctic, or the Middle East. This isn't just rhetoric, it is doctrine, said Dr. Elena Korolava, a security expert at the Stockholm Institute for Strategic Studies. Putin is trying to reframe Russian geopolitical stance from reactive to punitive. The statement also appeared to rally domestic support, appealing to nationalist sentiment within Russia. State media swiftly amplified the quote, framing it as a bold call to resist Western imperialism. Russian President Vladimir Putin has intensified his hardline rhetoric, declaring that Russia must continue to apply relentless pressure militarily, economically, and diplomatically until its objectives are fully realized. We must keep pounding until the result we need is achieved. Putin said during a speech to senior military officers and regional governors in the Kremlin on Monday evening. There is no room for retreats, only forward.
А я еще и по линии МИДа попрошу этим заняться активно. Ну и вот по линии Министерства промышленности через торгпресс. Надо настойчиво это делать, долбить, и мы, уверен, будем добиваться нужного нам результата. Главное, чтобы соотношение цена и качество были соответствующие.
This latest statement comes on the heel of an early proclamation that Russia should respond to Western hostility with a chokehold, further signaling Moscow's uncompromising stance amidst its ongoing standoff with NATO and Western powers. Putin did not specify whether the pounding refer explicitly to Russia's military operations in Ukraine, but the implication was unmistakable sustained aggression until total victory. Victory is not handed over. It is seized inch by inch with iron resolve, he continued. If they test our patience, they will feel our persistence. The use of such repetitive and forceful language marks a chilling tone shift, reinforcing perceptions that the Kremlin is digging in for a prolonged conflict, not just in Ukraine, but in broader confrontation with the Western-led international order. International observers have expressed alarm over what they see as escalating war rhetoric from Russian president. This kind of language is intended to demoralize opponents and embolden hardliners at home, said Dr. Natalia Rodenko, a Russian politics analyst based in Vienna. But it's also heightened the risks of miscalculation on all sides. Ukrainian officials dismissed Putin's remark as imperialist bluster and reaffirmed their commitment to defend their territory without surrender or fear. Meanwhile, NATO sources have confirmed that member states are increasing surveillance and readiness across Eastern Europe, amid concern that the Kremlin may prepare for further offensive or hybrid operations. In a momentous policy shift that could reshape the trajectory of the war in Eastern Europe, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has declared that Ukraine is now free to use Western supply weapons to strike military targets inside Russian territory. There are no longer any range restriction on weapons supply to Ukraine. Not from British, not from the French, not from us, not from the Americans either, Merz said during a joint press conference at the Bundestag. Ukraine has the right to defend itself by attacking military positions in Russia.
Es gibt keinerlei Reichweitenbeschränkungen mehr für Waffen, die an die Ukraine geliefert worden sind, weder von den Briten noch von den Franzosen noch von uns, von den Amerikanern auch nicht. Das heißt also, die Ukraine kann sich jetzt auch verteidigen, indem sie zum Beispiel militärische Stellungen in Russland angreift. Das konnte sie bis vor einiger Zeit nicht. Das hat sie bis vor einiger Zeit auch bis auf ganz wenige Ausnahmen nicht getan. Das kann sie jetzt. Wir nennen das im Jargon Long-Range Fire, also auch mit Waffen die Ukraine auszustatten, die militärische Ziele im Hinterland angreifen. Und das ist der entscheidende qualitative Unterschied in der Kriegsführung der Ukraine. Russland greift völlig rücksichtslos zivile Ziele an, bombardiert Städte, Kindergärten, Krankenhäuser, Altenheime. Das tut die Ukraine nicht. Und da legen wir auch sehr viel Wert darauf, dass das so bleibt. Aber ein Land, das sich nur im eigenen Territorium einem Angreifer entgegenstellen kann, verteidigt sich nicht ausreichend. So, und diese Verteidigung der Ukraine, die findet jetzt eben auch gegen militärische Infrastruktur auf russischem Staatsgebiet statt.
The statement marks a dramatic turning point in NATO's posture, tacitly endorsing Ukrainian strike across the border, something Western allies had previously approached with extreme caution, fearing escalation with Moscow. Chancellor Merz, who took office earlier this year following Olaf Skohol's resignation emphasized that the decision reflects the evolving nature of the conflict and Russia's persistent targeting of Ukrainian infrastructure and civilians. For too long, we have asked Ukraine to fight with one hand tied behind its back, men said. That's in now. A sovereign nation under attack has every right to respond in kind, whatever the threat originates. The response from Moscow was swift and severe. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova condemned the statement as an open invitation to World War III, warning that any Western-backed strike on Russian soil would be met with unrestricted retaliation. In Ukraine, President Vladimir Zelensky welcomed the shift as a long overdue recognition of his country's right to full-spectrum defense. Justice cannot be bound by arbitrary lines on a map, Zelensky said in a video address. Our people will no longer be defenseless against missile launch sites simply because they sit a few kilometers across the border. Analysts said the decision could significantly alter the strategic dynamic of the war, potentially enabling Ukraine to target logistic hubs, airfields, and command centers deep inside Russia that have previously operated with impunity. This is not just symbolic, it is operationally transformative, said Colonel Red Lucas Brandt, a defense expert at the Berlin Security Forum. If Ukraine now has the green light to strike at the heart of Russian war machine, the rule of engagement have fundamentally changed. While NATO leaders continue to maintain that their alliance is not at war with Russia, Men's remark underscore a growing willingness among Western powers to discard previous self-imposed limits in response to Russian escalating aggression. Whether this new doctrine of deterrence will bring peace closer or ignite a broader conflagration remains uncertain. In a dramatic escalation of rhetoric, Vladimir Putin has accused Western allies of orchestrating a bloody coup in Ukraine, laying full blame on the West for the ongoing conflict and justifying Russian continued military actions. They staged a coup. They forced us to do what we are now doing.
It wasn't us who organized the coup in Ukraine. We constantly heard that democracy and the rule of law and elections are paramount, but they staged a coup, a bloody coup at that. And they went full on, tried to conquer the Donbass and killing people with helicopters. They forced us to do what we're now doing. And they're trying to make it look as if it's our fault. And the next step, and it's no coincidence that I said that one of our greatest concerns was software and cybersecurity. And of course, we also had financial institutions working actively to address this, and we had many of our people working in our foreign companies. But you managed to collect the resources that you needed, and that is good.
This was not a choice we made lightly. It was a response to aggression, to treachery, to a violent seizure of power sponsored and engineered by the West. The Russian leader's remarks appear to be a direct reference to the 2014 Maidan Revolution, during which Ukraine's pro-Russian president Viktor Yanukovych was ousted following months of popular protests. While the West recognized that movement as a democratic uprising, Moscow has long described it as a Western-orchestrated coup, a claim dismissed by most independent observers. Putin's statement reframes Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine not as an act of imperial aggression, but as a reaction to what he claimed was the Western destruction of Ukraine's sovereignty. This wasn't about NATO or security guarantees, he continued. It was about reclaiming what was stolen, resisting what was imposed, and defending the Russian wall from foreign manipulation. The comments come amidst increasing international pressure on Russia, with fresh sanctions being prepared by both the European Union and the United States, and growing military aids flowing to Kyiv. Ukrainian officials immediately rebuked the remark. Mikhailo Podolyak, senior advisor to President Zelensky, wrote on X, formerly Twitter, Putin again rewrites history to justify mass murder. The only bloody coup is Russia's illegal invasion, and the only thing forced is its occupation. Analysts warn that Putin's narrative signals a hardening of Russian position and closing of diplomatic space. What we are seeing is a full embrace of grievance politics, says Professor Nina Yushchenko of the Geneva Institute of Conflict Studies. Putin is no longer merely justifying actions, he is mythologizing them. Western governments have yet to officially respond to the latest remark, though early signal suggests growing concern that the Kremlin is preparing its population for a prolonged, possibly even generational confrontation with the West. As the war grinds on and diplomatic efforts remain frozen, Putin's framing of history may be setting the stage, not for resolution, but for further escalation. As the smoke thickens over Western Europe, the lines once drawn to contain the conflict are rapidly dissolving. With Western powers now endorsing strike inside Russia, the war enters uncharted territory, one where escalation is no longer a risk, but a reality in motion. Whether this bold recalibration will bring Ukraine closer to peace or prolong the war deeper into confrontation now hang in the balance. What is clear, the age of half measure is over, and a new, more volatile piece of this war has begun. With that, we come to the end of today's program. Stay informed, stay connected, and more importantly, stay united. This is Connecting the Dot. This is the voice of New Africa. I am your brother, Ibrahim Umar Wase. Let the dots begin to connect. Until next time.